the most well-spoken brothers I've ever heard speak, right? Like we was on this panel and he might have got to talk like in total 8 minutes or something. And he just left me, I walked away very impressed and really astounded by the things that Maj had to say. So Maj, I just want to tell you that right here in front of you, that I was impressed and I knew I had to talk to you about some of the things that you're doing and some of the things that you've been able to do in the past and are continue to move forward. So thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. It's it's good to have that feeling where even with whatever space that you in, that truth can resonate with other people. That's always a great feeling to know that which some of the stuff that you said has been received by folks. So thank you so much for that.
Hey, it's no problem, man, because I definitely felt it that day on the panel, and even since then, because you've been very busy doing a lot of stuff, a lot of traveling, a lot of speaking engagements, but before we get into the things like hosting the panel at CPAC and some of the things you've said recently, I want to ask you. You're very staunch in your beliefs, your libertarian beliefs, your more conservative beliefs. Just kind of tell me, like, where did that come from? Were you always like that, or is that something that you developed over time?
Nah, it's like. No, anybody that's like, yeah, I came out the womb on this liberty thing. No, you didn't. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like how we are in urban America. We're generally, not all the time, generally, let's say over the last 40 or 50 years, we come out the womb and it's like, you're a Democrat because you're black. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not knocking our brothers and sisters that are so-called, what they call on the left, right? Left of center at Congress, right? I'm not knocking anybody for that. I just knew that it was certain things that were very, very questionable. It's like, yo, under all of these presidents, the hood look exactly the same. I don't think they have a real vested interest. You know what I mean? And then when you start reading the things, especially that people say you shouldn't read those. You know what I mean? When Facebook puts like a little warning label on something, a post that you see, absolutely read that. You know, when fact checkers say something is wrong, fact check the fact checker. And so because of that, I just be reading all types of shit. So you know, I mean, whether that's religious, whether that's political, whether that's, you know, financial, these are things that, you know, you start gravitating. So now at this point, you're no longer, you may not be super religious. You might just be more spiritual, you know, while respecting other people's belief systems, right? You may not be a Democrat anymore if you was raised that way. And that goes both ways. You might have been raised in a rural or suburban area where you come out Republican, but you see, you know, some of those things that are that could come off a little weird. So you might matriculate to some more social issues, for lack of a better term. You know what I mean? Which would generally be identified as generally Democratic, right? So no, just over time. And then my hero, like of all time, is Malcolm. And then seeing Malcolm X continue to reinvent and evolve without an attachment to anything other than the truth. That's something that like you gotta emulate. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, it was just a process of me just studying the things, especially the things that people tell you not to read, as well as just being brutally honest with yourself about your current value system. You know, just being brutally honest and saying, yo, I might have been wrong. Nobody's perfect. I could have been wrong too. Let me see if my theories or my beliefs or my knowledge base stands up to scrutiny. And if it does, then cool, I'm good. But if it doesn't, this new thing that I'm on is better. So I win anyway. You know what I mean? So that's really something that has been developed over time.
Definitely. So you talked about the influence of Malcolm and different things. Was there actually a moment that you had? Like, I think some people call it like the come to Jesus moment. It's like, nah, this ain't it. Like, you know what I mean? Like what I've been doing, like you said, what's been taking place hasn't helped me or my situation or my people's situation. So was there actually a specific moment or just something that kind of happened over time?
It was a collection of several moments. I remember one time when I was in high school, I sold weed, and my teacher, Miss Ireland was super thick too. She was like amazingly thick. And she used to tell me, she was like, I know what you're doing, and you're gonna go to jail or you're gonna like get murdered. And I'm like, nah, this is just business. Like, I know the requirements and the risks that go along with this job. So anyway, I've lived by myself since I was 15. When I was in high school,
Wow.
I lived in Philly by myself. My mother, she got remarried and moved to a different state. And I was like, yeah, I'm definitely not living here. I moved back to Philly. She owned the house. So I lived in that house. And so one day I was at Whole Foods. This is before Whole Foods was like the super rage, right?
Yeah.
I was at Whole Foods in Miss Ireland. The funny thing is, I was like, damn, this lady in front of me is thick as hell. And I was, mind you, I'm like 16, 17.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, this lady, I'm like, oh, that's Miss Ireland. And her debit card didn't swipe. Like it was denied. And I paid for Miss Ireland's groceries and then my own. And then right after that, she never mentioned nothing about, because my grade point average was solid. I dropped out of high school because I wasn't making no money in that joint. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And so those were the moments where I'm like, the thing that she's doing has gotten her to this point where her teenage student, paying for her groceries. I never told nobody, like in school, because that's just rude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this was years ago. So my point is, your decisions got you to this point. And not to be rude to Miss Ireland at all. It could have just been a glitch. I don't know. But the fact is, she didn't go in her pocket and pay for her groceries. I did. So all of that, after that, she never mentioned to me about like what I'm doing is wrong. I never been to jail. You know what I'm saying? Like for like real, I've caught charges, but I never been to jail. I'm never going to fuck to jail. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to know nothing about it. You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, I don't know, man. Like it just was those type of moments that it's like, yeah, all of them degrees and all of that. I mean, that's cool. Don't get me wrong, if that's what you want to do, but I could pay for my groceries. You know what I'm saying? I could pay for other people's groceries. So it was little moments like that that let me see a little bit through that matrix. And I also remember, one time I got cut from like the like varsity basketball team or something, and I just was like devastated. I'm like, what is life? And then in hindsight, I'm like, you were basing your whole life off of whether you like fucking played basketball in high school. What the fuck are you, like Al Bundy? Like, you know what I'm saying? And so over time, you see these things that's like, oh, we've been fed something that we're supposed to believe in, like it's our whole world, and it's not. If you got money and you got resources, even if you don't got money, you could use your brain to get resources to make money. And so it was these little moments over time that just kept reinforcing, you know what I mean? And then it would be things like Bill Gates getting like, he's a college dropout.
Yeah.
It's like he would get like an honorary degree. I'm like, wait, so y'all just gonna give him the like this is completely opposite of everything that y'all told me. You just gonna you're just gonna give main man a degree. You're just gonna give it to him. Like that, if that don't tell you that it's something wrong with that system, and not wrong, it's just different rules, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it was just those, combination of things over time from my teenage years, whether that's politically, spiritually, whatever, you know what I mean?
No, definitely. Like you said, when you have power, a lot of the rules change, right? Like when you have a certain level, a certain status, a certain amount of money, a certain level of power, the rules change. Your rules when you're at a certain status is not the same as somebody who's below you. So like I definitely understand that. And it doesn't matter how many degrees you get, how many whatever you do, if you attain that level of power and that kind of thing, people will follow and people allow you to do things that other folks can. So no, I definitely get that.
Main man is getting like, going back to Bill Gates for a quick second.
Yeah.
He's not a doctor. Like, man is making like trying to like that. They say that again, the rules.
Yeah.
If I go say, yo, put this in your body, right, wrong, or indifferent, and I go all around the world saying, yo, put this in your body, they're gonna arrest me for like you impersonating the doctor.
Impersonating the doctor, yeah.
Main man is not a doctor. If that don't speak about how money influences all of that shit. I remember one time I flew private, like one time in my life. And I remember Scottie Pippen saying, he's one of those dudes that was like, yo, flying private is like one of the fastest ways of going broke, because like it's so comforting, but it's kind of expensive.
Yeah.
I flew private one time, and the not having to go through TSA alone thing bugged me out. Like, just like, boom, straight to the, you know what I mean? Get out of here. And I'm like, okay, so that was a fucking lie. Like, all of the stuff that you're telling me, like, these guys can't be so-called terrorists. So it's just little things that, as a culmination, you start to see. And so when you see these rules being shaped for people that actually believe in liberty, I'm not knocking Bill Gates. I'm just saying these are the facts. They move like free men. So I'm going to do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? To the best of my ability in the areas where I can't currently, I'm just gonna try to get more power. Like, I'm in this game for power. I have no, even my altruistic, I want more power so I can help more people, right? But I
Absolutely.
also want to try to, like, I need, a few Bentleys, you know what I'm saying? I need like 100 acres, you know what I'm saying? I need those things too. So it's not all altruistic. And I think anybody that pretends like it is, I think they lying to themselves and potentially you know what I'm saying? So saying all of that to say, yeah, it's just been that culmination.
Okay. Once again, I'm talking to Maj Toure from Black Guns Matter. Now, Maj, you had the privilege of hosting a panel at CPAC,
Yep.
right? So for those of you who don't know, CPAC is a conservative conference, I guess is the best way to call it, like a kind of like a Republican conference, and
Yeah.
it's something you've actually been there the last few years. And they invited you to be a speaker, but instead you allowed other Black conservatives to get on the stage with you, and you didn't really speak. You just kind of, open the floor to that. So my question is just how did you develop that relationship with like the Republican Party, right? Because a lot of times Black people, if they're in too deep with the Republicans, they're considered coons, sellouts, or whatever. But you seem to not care about that kind of stuff. So just
Yeah.
talk to me about that.
Your actions and deeds. Now, be clear. It's a couple of coons and sellouts in that game. It's a few of them, actually. Brandon Tatum's one of them. You know what I'm saying? He's a fucking clown. That's number
Oh
one.
man.
So there's a few of them. There's people that I disagree with ideologically, but I don't think fit the coon stereotype. You know what I mean? I think that to just unnecessarily dump somebody in that box just because of their political affiliations, I think that's very limited. You know what I mean? I think there's enough people that study enough to know that the first 13, Black senators were like Republican. You know what I mean? When you understand the starting of the Republican Party, you go like, oh, this is the twist. When you start to recognize, if you genuinely want to learn, your highest alignment should be to the truth. When you start to look and see like, yo, the fucking Democratic Party was the party of slavery. Like, and that's not me like attacking Black folks that's currently Democratic. You just don't know because you haven't read that part yet. You know what I mean? So what happens was I start speaking more. I have a serious set of conservative principles in some regards, but there's overlap between libertarian ideology and conservative ideology. At least it's supposed to be. There are people that, in essence, like there's a phrase called rhinos, Republican in name only, meaning they just dare to say F the Democrats, right? But they don't really do anything conservative. Conservative is an ideology or a value system. Republican or libertarian or democratic is a political party that you associate yourself with. You genuinely, if you have more conservative principles, when you start looking at all of the or libertarian principles, you start going like, how could I be a Democrat? This doesn't go together. The basic difference that, going into how I developed that relationship with Matt Schlapp and Dan Schneider and Ian over at CPAC or the American Conservative Union is all of the work that I was doing in the hood in urban America across the country was still conservative principles. The main difference between conservatives and so-called liberals, right, is conservatives believe that the individual and changing their lives, individual, family, community, so forth, it's a spread out effect. Liberals, current definition of liberal, because it's not the original definition, they believe that using the state or the government overall and forcing people to do things will change society for the better, right? But the problem with that argument is if I don't want to do that, I have the right to not do that. But they believe that if we just make more rules, which in essence gives more power to the state, they believe that the world would change for the better. So you'll see people like yelling at people saying, wear a mask, but that's devoid of science, right? They'll just go, we think that this will make us safer, even though the data is clear. We think that this will make us safer, so everyone should be forced to do it. Now, I understand the logic. They believe in this like greater good thing, but that removes the individual liberty of the individual, right? Conservatism is the belief or the philosophy of securing the liberty of the individual. Liberalism in its current state and definition is we're going to force everybody through rules to do this thing, and it'll be for the greater good. Now, there could be merit to both parts, right? Because some people will say, well, people agree to follow certain like I don't know, like speed limits and, you know, crashes go down. So there's merit to both of them. The problem is one of them does not respect the individual's liberty. Yo, if you want to do that, cool, you do it. I don't want to. You know what I mean? If y'all want to jump off that cliff, cool, you can. I'm not going to knock you. I'm not jumping off the cliff. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to get a vaccination. Yo, you can if you want to. You know what I mean? And so that's in essence the difference. And so when I was doing all of these classes around the country in regards to the Second Amendment, the languaging is going to be freedom-based. Like, you know, like Doc was saying, and when we did that panel, like I talk about liberty and freedom because I'm from that cloth. Like I'm from the Harriet Tubman energy. You know what I mean? And so Harriet Tubman was like, look, if everybody wants to stay over there, cool. If you want to come with me, cool. She didn't go, no, you're going to do this until you agreed, you volunteered to come on. And that's another spin though. But they try to make it look like so many men was like, oh, Harriet, I want to go back. Like just to package people as that. And that wasn't really the majority. But my point is, once you agreed to come to freedom with Harriet, she wouldn't force you until after the fact that you could, you know, jeopardize the overall mission because you agreed to this. So that balance is key. So when I've had those conversations, you know, I would do certain radio shows. I would do Ian's radio show. And they were like, yo, you want to come to CPAC? And this last one was my third time going there. The first one I was on, you know, I had a couple of minutes with Willis Lee. He's executive vice president, I think, over at the NRA. It was just a Q&A. Then the next year they let me, they was like, yo, you could get the whole stage. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to tell y'all about Frederick Douglass, who is the top tier, best conservative of all time. So that and I'm telling people on CPAC stage how they're not using, if we're going to win this thing and get people out the mental clutches, you got to use examples that are around that make sense. Nobody knows in the hood that Frederick Douglass was a conservative. You know what I'm saying? And so I did a whole 10-minute dissertation on, because, you know, they'll be like, oh, he married a white woman. Yeah, but he was married to a black woman too, first. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are things that, you got to explain these things. So I just got to, and every year I'm like, yeah, they're absolutely not going to invite me back. And every year they're like, I mean, because I'm never rude to people, but I tell them the harsh truth.
Definitely.
And so that year I was like, yeah, and everybody loved it. And so this year, same thing. They were like, look, you're going to go on in front of, Trump. We're going to give you time to do your thing. And I'm like, yo, let's try something else. Let's bring these other black voices in that have been overshadowed, sometimes deliberately, by, people that highlight these coon dudes because of the fact that that's all they see. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if you think that a certain type of motorcycle or a motorcycle is a great motorcycle, then you see a Ducati. And you're like, oh, this other motorcycle that I saw, that's nowhere near a Ducati, right? It's the same thing. People were being highlighted as like they really speak for Black America, but they don't. And they've actually said they don't even go into the Black community. So I just had to put on people that have been speaking about Black issues while being conservative, and to just show a different balance. So we went 3 men, 3 women, and they tore the panel down. Like, they literally, like, it was I've gotten so many emails and messages. That was the best panel at CPAC. And now I'm like, yeah, they're absolutely not going to have me back next year.
No, that's for sure, because I watched the panel twice. I took it in because a lot of these people I didn't know. I knew about Angela. I'd heard about Sonny Johnson before, but like Shamika and the 3 guys, I didn't know. I've never heard of these people before. But of course, you hear about the Brandon Tatums that you mentioned, the Candace Owens, and those people are kind of propped up, whereas they might get a stage that the people that you brought on, the 6 individuals, might not ever see that type of thing. Once again, I'm talking to Maj Toure from Black Guns Matter. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe. Now, what you said is that you allow them a stage that they might not have ever had before. What the reaction that you got from that panel, was it what you expected, or has it been a lot more? Has it been totally different?
So one, I want to be clear. These individuals have built their own platform before me. And I just see where I'm maneuvering away, because I talk about guns. I'm maneuvering away where my branding is almost impossible to smear me, right?
Yeah.
I'm urban, I cuss. This is in alignment with my so-called brand, because it's just me, right? These people have built a brand before me. I just know that when other conservatives saw, just like me, when they see these people, if I can share my stage, they'll go, oh man, that guy Adrian makes great points. Sonny Johnson was directly connected with Andrew Breitbart. Like, she's from that spot. She's the reason why she has there's been deliberate attempts because she's fiery, she's passionate. I mean, she's a black woman. Like, what do you do? Only weak dudes have a problem with black women being strong. Like, I like that shit. With that being the case, these people have, not that they haven't built a platform. She got a show every Saturday on Sirius, XFM. They had platforms. I just saw how they were being deliberately overlooked, and in some cases, deliberately trying to be shut out by people in the conservative movement. Because when somebody's coming through going like, yo, we losing because of this reason, right? If my interest is not spreading conservative or liberty values in urban America where we need it the most, where it actually would resonate the most, but nobody's in there doing that work. If my interest is to just speak to the echo chamber, I just want to say things that make people comfortable, and it doesn't grow the movement. It actually just gets a bunch of white people to go, yeah, and there's bigotry in there too. It's easy to say, well, yeah, the black fathers, they're just not fathers. If these guys just pulled themselves up by the bootstraps, it's easy to just say that and then go, well, it's not racist because he said it. But that's
it. That's it. Yeah, that is it.
That stat has been debunked, though. 2013, it was a study done that black fathers were amongst some of the most active fathers in their children's lives. So, like, that like talking point bullshit. If we want, listen, if I'm gonna keep it a buck, Trump made inways with black male millennials. That wasn't because he was being politically correct. Nor am I saying I think Trump was horrible for the Second Amendment. So I'm not like, oh, Trump is the way. I'm just saying, like, look, now you got Biden, like, who clearly has dementia, clearly, and his policies destroyed the black family.
Absolutely. Like, you're not getting no argument out of me for that. Yeah. That 94 crime bill is still having its effects in 21. Like, no, absolutely.
And so, and explaining that concept to people and me seeing that there were certain people that were more interested in just spewing a narrative for their own popularity, I had to create a distinction. For me, it started to become clear. Now, again, I want to be clear. I have no problem with Candace Owens. I've done Candace Owens' show. I got a phone number, whatever. We disagree. Like she said, police brutality is a myth. No, it's not as high as media makes it like out to be, right? And white males are beat up by the police more than anybody, right? So I can see the political agenda for certain media trying to do this like race bait thing. I agree with that, but it's not a myth. I've been beat up by the cops twice. You know what I'm saying? So like, I can disagree with her, and she's never disrespected me. Brandon Tatum, in essence, is on some like Ahmaud Arbery pretty much deserved it. And those types, because I don't even want to keep hacking on him, those types of statements make it more difficult for people like me to get these values into urban America where it needs, because these people are being presented as if they like, this is what you got to be if you're a black conservative. And when you send that to black people, they like, what? No, Maj, this your man? No, that ain't my man. You know what I'm saying? And so these are the things that, to me, that panel was necessary to highlight those voices of people that had already built their own following in their own right. I just knew that if I get the alley-oop or the pass, you know what I mean? I'm a point guard. I'm gonna pass it to everybody so everybody could get a little bit. You know what I mean? And that's really what it was. But no, the panel did exactly what I anticipated it was gonna do. It was gonna be controversial. It was gonna be the best panel there. It was, and that's not a knock to any of the other great folks there doing panels. It's just our shit was super lit. Like, that's it. You know what I mean? And so we got a different energy. We got a different passion. We come from different soil type vibe. And so if you can highlight people that can talk about black issues without the whole victim mentality thing, because nobody on that stage believes in that, right? Without the victim mentality thing, while addressing certain systemic issues, bro, like redlining was a thing, bro. Like stop. You know what I'm saying? But then not going like, oh, we can't move out of it. Like, those people fit that. The people that recognize that there's problems and here's what we can do to solve it, but we're not gonna like be like, oh, we just we got to wait on government to fix it. That's what that panel was about. So yeah, it did in that regard. What I knew it was going to do. But the overwhelming positive response is the thing that I was like, oh, word. I mean, we got standing ovations, so that was dope.
No, so it definitely was different because even if you're someone who would consider themselves super liberal or far left or whatever, you can watch that, at least if you're black or if you care anything about the black community, and watch it and take away information like, oh, these guys aren't what I see on mainstream TV. Like, these people actually do care about us. Like, because that's the thing about like being black and being so-called like conservative or Republican, you're automatically assumed to be, this coon dancing person that says they hate black folks, right? But the people on that stage showed me that you guys care about being black first and how can we help change our situation. I watched a video of a guy that said, all of you guys that are B1, because that's one thing we do on this platform. We always say black first, right? Like black before you're Republican or Democrat or whatever. Like you're black because that's the first thing I know about you. When you walk in the room, it's like, oh, he's black. Or the first time I walk in the room, you can notice that I'm black. So it should be me and my people before anything. But I've literally watched videos of black Republicans or so-called Republicans or whatever, and they'll say, these guys that are on this black first movement, that's not really a thing. Like I'm something that just so happened to be black. And it's like, no, that's not how it works.
Those guys have no knowledge of self. Those guys have some self-hate issues. And those guys are the same people that say successful black men generally graduate towards white women. You know what I'm saying? And again, I don't care, who you sleep with. I don't care. I just don't. You know what I'm saying? The white girl slurp game might have been crazy. Cool. You fell for it. Whatever. Right? I don't care. My thing is, when you start to paint it as a badge of this is what it means to be successful, it's like, nah, bro. Like, think about all of the black women that, like your mom.
Exactly.
Like, I'm talking about black conservative, like your mom. So, like, your dad felt like he wasn't successful. That's why he gravitated towards your mom. Like, is the self-hate issue. And again, there's a symbiotic relationship with guys like that between the white conservatives, because there is some, we can hide our bigotry behind our patriotism or so-called patriotism, right? There's a symbiotic relationship. The white conservative that believes a lot of that goofy shit, and that's not a lot of them. I mean, in comparison, when the new information is presented, those people go like, oh, I never viewed it that way, right? There's still some people that you can make a decent amount of money off of that want to keep the false narrative going. So there's a symbiotic relationship. That relationship is, I'm going to say things that you agree with, and you can highlight it and say it's not racist because the black person said it. Exactly. You can get support and, like kudos and pats on the head from white conservatives that don't want to change the status quo. They are not interested in pushing the ball forward in the community and getting the overall win. My goal is to change voting and financial patterns because of educating people. I already did it with Black Guns Matter. I said years ago, we are going to make black people the newest, largest gun buying group. As of March of 2020, we did. That's it. Black women, actually. So now so we shifted by educating a bunch of urban centers about the Second Amendment. We shifted buying patterns, right? Now, I'm not saying that we can't get involved on the manufacturing part too, because now we got to shift that into, now we got to get paid off of it, right?
Absolutely.
However, it's also, now we got to turn that into different voting patterns. If you bought a gun and if you voted for Joe Biden, the gun that you bought in 2020 or whatever year, he's putting forth legislation that would make that firearm pretty much a felony to have.
Wow.
Okay. And then let's say if you were struggling, you saved up $500, $600, $700 to buy that gun. They talking about mandatory like gun buybacks. You can't buy back something that wasn't yours in the first place.
Yeah.
But saying this to say, when you educate people about that, not call them names, when you go, yeah, I understand. I know why you think that, but look at this. They go, oh, now their voting process starts to go a little bit different, right? For me, it is about changing the financial patterns and trends and the political trends in urban America. That's where the wins are, right? That's why they go so hard every few years for the Black community's vote.
Absolutely.
Every year. You know what I'm saying? So those people are not in it to actually win. Those people are in it to be entertainers. Entertainers generally are not leaders. They're not.
Yeah.
You know, generally.
You're right about that. Once again, I'm talking to Maj Toure from Black Guns Matter. Now, Maj, I'm going to show you something from your Instagram. Obviously, you've seen it, but I just want to know, what was the reaction from people, whether in your circle, out of your circle, in your comments, when they saw this picture of you and Donald Trump Jr. and you guys weren't wearing masks, and you were big, like, I should have the choice to wear a mask, not wear a mask. But what was the reaction to this picture of you and Donald Trump Jr.?
It depends on who saw it. So if they're a shooter, they know that Donald Trump Jr. is like at some point was a nationally ranked shooter, as well as he's an avid hunter and fisherman. So if you know me from Black Guns Matter, you go like, oh yeah, that makes sense. If you a conservative, you go like, oh man, you got a picture. Never mind the fact that I take pictures with Don every year at CPAC. We run into each other, we chop it up. It's almost like an annual thing. There's other pictures of me and Don. Like, it is what it is. Some of the people conflate that with like, oh, you took a picture with a terrorist. And then I go, okay, here we go with these definitions. Show me the terrorism that happened. Like, show me the terrorism. Like, show me it's like when people say Donald Trump's a racist. Okay, show me the thing that was racist. I'm with it. If we see the picture of him going, we hate these niggers, absolutely. I'm like, yep. Now, don't get me wrong. That could be one angle, but the other angle could also be, what about policy? What policies have these people enacted or supported that have actually been detrimental to my community? When you ask people about that, about Junior, well, they can't with Junior because he's not in public office. But when you ask people that about his pop, they can't tell you anything. We are so caught up in like the Trump derangement syndrome. And it almost...
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by Trump derangement syndrome?
It's like everybody just got on this wave like, we hate dude. Like, and it started in like 2015. Every hip hop, and again, I got to be easy and preface these things. I am not in defense of Donald Trump. I'm just in defense of objectivity. So when people on the left are lying, when I call out the lie, it looks like I'm defending Trump. And it's like, no, I'm not. I'm just going, that's a lie. That's not what happened. I'll give you a perfect example. A few years ago, I was at the Youth Black Leadership Summit in Washington, D.C. It was a turning point event. I go there. I go to the White House. I see Trump address a bunch of young, the young black MAGA hat wearing dudes, right? I don't own a MAGA hat. It's just not my thing. I wear Black Guns Matter shit. With that being the case, I go there and I watch this dude give a whole presentation. I seen it. In that presentation, he said, you know that black people built America. You know it. It's true. We all know it. But they're not going to talk about that. This is literally what this dude said, right? I was there for the whole 45-minute thing. I leave. I go over to the hotel. I sit in the lobby. I have a drink, right? I look up. CNN's on. They got him coverage of the actual thing. The way that they chopped and screwed, dude, they you know how they'll say the news reporter or person on the screen will say a thing and then they'll fade in like completely out of context. And I'm like, that's not what main man said, or that's what he said, but that's not the context. Like, I was there for the whole thing. Then no mention of the entire, like, you know that African Americans built this nation. It's true. They won't, I don't know if you know it or not. That's literally what he said. And I'm like, oh, y'all slick with the edits, right? Then, well, that was actually after this other edit that I thought was crazy. It's still, this falsehood still resonates, like moves around now. The whole, like, there were very fine people on both sides talking about the Charlottesville with the,
I remember hearing that and thinking like, whoa, like,
There's
like, oh, dudes are racist. I was one of those dudes are racist. You hear that? You got to think that, right? Or you're crazy. I was one of those people.
Pete, there's like 2 or 3 more minutes of that speech where he literally says, and again, I'm not defending him. When we looking at the left and their non-objective reporting, it looks like I'm defending him. My highest alignment is to the truth. I'm just seeing media chop and screw homie, right? There's 2 more minutes to that speech where homie literally says, anybody that is watching this that don't believe me, go look at the whole speech. Main man said, and I'm not talking about the white supremacists. They should be condemned. They're horrible people. There's more to that whole fucking video. That's not me making it up. It's like, yo, why are y'all going so hard to make this dude like the villain? Like, and when you call that contradiction out, oh, you a Trump supporter? No, idiot. I'm just going like, yo, are y'all seeing what's happening right here? Anytime, if the opposite side, when everybody's like, oh, Trump's going to save our Second Amendment rights. No, we didn't. No, we didn't. We got more federal restrictions on gun rights under him than we did in two terms with Obama. I have to be honest. Then my folks that's on the right, so-called, to be like, damn, Maj, you coming? No, I'm not. I'm just being objective.
Yeah.
I talked to Dr. Boyce about this, and he said something that I thought was really key. He said, you're like a man with no country. Your objectivity is going to put you in this beautiful independent space, but you're going to get beat up from both sides.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now, to me, I'm cool with it because leave me the fuck alone. I just want to be like hanging out anyway. You know what I'm saying? But when you call out the contradiction and don't just go with the groupthink of orange man bad just for no reason, then you get attacked. So going back to this picture, he's a hunter, fly fisher, deep sea fishing, all of this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, okay, it's a picture. When I do interviews, I did Tommy Lahren show a few times. Now I take a picture with it. It's like, oh, you supporting the white supremacists. Okay, bro. So left-leaning media is scared. I told the Breakfast Club, what's up? Let's have a conversation. Several times for about 3 years now. They are scared to death. Especially during an election year, the conversation that we have will shift voting trends. It will. It will. That's the power of expression and knowledge and all of those different things. So leftist media is scared to have me on, generally. So they scared. Right-leaning media, the Breitbarts and these other people are open to having me and I'm genuinely being exactly who I am everywhere. So now because I'm not doing the Breakfast Club, I'm supposed to not get our message out about Black Guns Matter, or I'm supposed to like slap Don Trump Jr. just because to appease some people that haven't helped with Black Guns Matter at all, that are too short-minded to see, like, they haven't even read any W.E.B. Du Bois. They don't know what dual consciousness is. They don't know the maneuvers that I gotta maneuver while still authentically being myself. Nobody can see. Nobody ever can say he won on that show and was tap dancing. Nobody can do it. But they'll go, oh, I knew he was down with the white supremacists. Oh, the check must be nice. I'm like, bro, where my Bentley at? What check you talking about? And
yeah,
the bag would be so heavy that y'all wouldn't see me no more. I would move to Bora Bora. You wouldn't see me. So there's several levels of what people perceive when they see those pictures. You know what I mean? If they're layered and peel back the onion a bit, they get it. Again, the biggest example I could give is if left media is scared to have me on because left media know what I'm capable of doing. They know my ability. I'm a translator. My ability to translate complex information and make it very simple resonates with the demographic. And I do it in a manner where it's not me attacking you. Yo, if you Democrat, cool. What have you researched on that? You know what I'm saying? Here, let me share this information with you. And you come to that realization on your own. If you land at Democrats after reading all of this stuff, cool. I'm not mad at you. I'm not attacking people or calling them slaves because they were raised in something that was designed to make them vote one way. It is a systemic attack. It's like, if you in the hood, you supposed to be Democrat. Like Lyndon B. Johnson said, I'll have them niggers voting Democrat for the next 200 years. So, you know, these are things that the multiple layers of response that I get to these things. The reality is, though, like, I don't give a fuck. Listen, bro, I put a lot of work in for my community. I gave away almost $400,000. You know what I'm saying? To like over the years, I raised and gave the money away to educate our people on being armed. The impact in our work is seen, especially in 2020. So like people that don't get it, they should ask the question. And you can just watch, like when people like those stages that I'm on. Show me where I said where I misrepresented our people. Show me where I got up there and was tap dancing. Show me.
Now, one thing, Maj, what do you say to those people, though? Because I know it'll be some people either in the comments or that'll go back and watch this video and say, well, Maj, the Republicans or whoever are just using you, right, to get black votes. What do you say to those people?
How did it work out for Trump, if that's the case? If they're using me to get black votes, we didn't get black votes. And I'm a libertarian. That part. I'm not a Republican. So when people say that, I'm like, all right, cool. The Republican Party isn't being conservative. They're rhinos. A lot of them are Republicans in name only. They just go back and forth with Democrats. They're not conservative. They're not conserving. There's been $1.9 trillion in the last print up machine of money out of 6 times since this whole COVID, right, government overreach started. The vast majority of that money didn't get to the people that needed it. But y'all overwhelmingly went and voted outside of, I do think there was stealing and cheating involved in the election. There always is, right? But on top of that, you motherfuckers went and gave Joe Biden, Black Lives Matter funneled $700 million through Act Blue into their campaign.
Wow, 700 million. 700 million.
Anything that I'm saying, nobody believe me. Go research it. Don't believe me at all. Look up Act Blue. When you go look at the Black Lives Matter website and see who their processors is and what Act Blue is, go look it up. Don't believe nothing I'm saying. Nothing. Don't believe me. I'm handsome, but pretend like I'm ugly. Don't believe me. ugly people are not trustworthy. My point though is, like, if people say, well, they just using you for, okay, then they not doing the job right, because y'all still lost. Republicans lost because they were not pushing people that could relate. On that panel, Shamika Michelle gave the best example of different types of conservatives, right? One is a Carlton. One we can talk about. We can utilize him for Bel Air. You generally can't use Carlton for Philly. We can use in Philly. Now, here's the caveat to that. If you drop Carlton off in Lamert Park in Compton, and you give him an understanding of the culture, there's also an episode where Carlton wound up adapting very well to the hood. Very well, and started teaching people in the hood about it was God Bless the Dead. Tiny Zeus Lister was in that actual episode. He was teaching them about finances and all that other stuff. Because he was culturally relevant, they would listen to him. So it's different layers to this shit. I'm just a person that I can talk to you like Carlton. You know what I'm saying? Because I got dry sense of humor. I'm kind of like a cheese ball. I'm kind of like I watch The Office. You know what I'm saying? I watch The Office and The Wire.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so a well-rounded person, I'm an artist. Artists are very dangerous because we mix with all different types and cultures and classes of people. That's why we're very influential. So when Shamika gave that example, it resonated. These are all, these are all necessary tools in a toolbox for when you're trying to reach a demographic. The conservative movement has failed in that regard. The libertarian movement has failed in that regard. Because the reality is, I believe that there's a big percentage of people in that demographic that are, again, they are interested in just speaking to their base. It's harder to expand the base than it is to just talk to people that are going to agree. A perfect example of that is the NRA, right? I tried to work with the NRA for years, and they was bullshitting, right? The reality is the NRA has 4 or 5 million gun owners annually, like members a year, right? There's over 100 million gun owners in America. That means they're only getting 4 to 5% of that pie. They are interested in talking to that 4 to 5%. They want to sell T-shirts. They want to sell merch. They want to sell booths. They want to do that. That is their business model. generally, or has been for some time now. Okay.
Yeah.
I am interested. My goal was to make black people buy more guns and train and defend life and not rely on the police. That was my goal. I'm going to raise this, which is still a small amount of money, 400 grand, still a small amount of money, but I'm going to impact and influence the whole bitch, right?
Yeah.
That's more difficult. It's like the cost of acquiring a new customer as opposed to the cost of
keeping the old one.
You know what I'm saying? And so for me, that was what my lane was. So that's in essence the difference. Once we had that conversation though, generally from a place of love and empathy, those people get it and they go, oh, and there's a lot of white conservatives. I want to be honest. There's a lot of white conservatives that's like, oh, I didn't even think of that. Damn, you broke that down to me in a way. And then they start becoming more like, oh, okay, I see where we dropped the ball. But when people are like, oh, they're just using you for, nah, they not. Because if they would have did, my track record in regards to shifting spending patterns and gun ownership, it's proven. It's proven. I did it. You know what I'm saying? So if they were actually listening to me, they would have had success. But they didn't. Because a lot of those people are rhinos, Republicans in name only.
Definitely. Once again, we're talking to Maj Toure from Black Guns Matter. Now, Maj, you put out a couple posts. Like I said, I follow you, man. So I look at the stuff you say. You talked about traveling around across the country, 30 different cities, I think, over the last year, and not wearing masks and not getting a vaccine. And just, you really weren't telling people not to get the vaccine. At least I'm not sure. You were just saying you're not doing it, right? So kind of talk to me behind Texas reopening, and you was really for that and really happy about that, and the whole traveling, no mask, and the whole COVID. I heard you call it a hoax a couple times.
Yeah, and I want to clarify that. I'm not saying that there isn't something strange happening. When this first started, I created a private group of people that I know that didn't have a vested interest in lying, right? Yeah. Nurses, paramedics, and people that work specifically with COVID patients. For like over a year, this private group has been giving updates, and I get to see all of them from in different parts of the country, right? So I'm not saying that something weird ain't happening. It is. I'm saying that there are so many things that, people lied about for their own protection or financial or political agendas and interests that is bullshit. We sent the whole ship down to New York, and I think that ship only saw like 7 people or some shit like that, right? This from the gate was not what they presented it to be, okay? The hoax is the political agenda associated with it, as well as calling something something that is not. And so when you have people saying we got to do masks, and then I look at Fauci and I have footage of Fauci saying like, don't wear a mask. It doesn't help you. It doesn't protect you. Then he switches and goes, yeah, you should have a mask on. You definitely need a mask. Then he goes, we got a double mask.
Yeah, I was going to say, then you need 2 masks.
It's like, come on, bro. Like, stop. Like, y'all have an agenda. And again, a lot of that's the money grab. There have been 6 fire up the money printing machines. And if you know anything about money, that is going to lead to more hyperinflation. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that's, y'all had to pull it. And don't get me wrong. As a hustler, I go like, damn, they really pimped the situation. Then when that first bundle go through and they like $10 million went to gender studies in Pakistan, like, what the fuck does that have to do? What does that have to do with anything? Like, nothing. Like, stop. Like, stop. $12 million went to the arts. And like, come on, bro. Like, get the fuck out of here. And so the hoax is the agenda of like, yeah, this is going to be good for the people. And it's not. The hoax is damn near in similar fashion as cancer deaths, heart failure deaths, and like influenza. All of that disappears in 2020. Almost like the same amount of like, oh, this was COVID. And we also know that hospitals had a financial incentive to label a thing COVID, as well as if we get you on an event, I think it was like $13,000 to call it COVID, $30,000 if you get them onto a ventilator. Then motherfuckers started dying on the ventilators. Wow. So then it was like, oh, don't now nobody's talking about ventilators. Y'all said we needed all of this money for vents. Like, y'all have been back to back to back wrong and contradictory. And a lot of it has been, you know, let's use this for our own political agenda. That part is the hoax. Now, let me be clear. These epidemiologists, paramedics, nurses that are frontline have seen some similar things, like OPAC look like ground up glass in these people's lungs and shit. Some of that is real. A lot of that is real. Let me be clear. I'm not saying that this thing that we are calling COVID, not corona now, all of a sudden, they don't even use that word no more.
No.
There is something weird happening. Absolutely. I'm not saying, like, because I don't want it to come off insensitive to people that have died and their death has been labeled COVID. But we cannot ignore the fact that those doctors, when the government's told them to shut down their elective surgeries, which is a big chunk of their money, and they're like, okay, you can charge this person's insurance or, you know, Medicaid or whatever, $30,000 if you get them onto the event. They had to recoup a lot of money that they lost. They had a financial incentive to label things COVID to recoup money. So even the number of COVID-related deaths, we will never know those actual numbers. The closest we get to it on the CDC's website, they've readjusted their numbers a bunch of times. Only 6% of the 530-something thousand people that have been said to die from COVID and it's on the CDC's website. Do not believe me. Don't believe me.
This was something you posted. This was something you posted on your Instagram. So it says, you know, the COVID cases, about 29 million COVID cases, and then about 20 million, 20.3 million have recovered, and only about 500,000 deaths in the United States. Is this? I mean, obviously, we don't have an up to date, like, day of right now number. I think you posted this a couple days ago, but it looks like the overwhelming majority have recovered from the disease.
Right. And, like, what the fuck? Like, people want to beat me up for saying, yo, 20, that's positive. 20 million people recovered. Then, like, oh, this is irresponsible. That's not my data. That's Worldometers. They do a literal update of what's going on. That ain't me, Maj, just making these numbers up. It's like, yo, these people track this. So why are we not talking about the recoveries? Then the irony is, then people will say, because I posted something about the amount of people, so on the CDC site, the amount of people that died from taking the vaccine, and everybody was like, well, that's a small amount based on the amount of people that took the actual vaccine. Only a small amount of people died. Okay, cool. Well, keep that same energy, apply that same logic to the amount of people that died with all of the BS numbers involved, the amount of people that died compared to the amount of cases. If you made, like, chocolate chips at a factory, your business was making chocolate chips, and 1 out of every 200,000 chocolate chip cookies, it was a flaw, and that one of those cookies didn't have no chocolate chips in them, would you shut down production of all of your 200,000, like, chocolate chip machine company? Would you shut down production because of the one chocolate chip list cookie?
I wouldn't. No.
You would
not if you're a good businessman. I mean, if you're in the business of making chocolate chip cookies, you're not going to shut down your factory because 1 out of every 200,000, doesn't have the chips.
So why are we shutting down a national and global economy for something that the spikes in death rates hasn't dramatically risen in a year? So why are we doing that for global supply chains just based on this? Why? It doesn't make sense. And I hate to sound crass, but like my man Rico, just die every day, B. Like, and I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, like, yo, we just gonna ignore the amount of death that happened with the H1N1 situation. We took none of these. Let's shut down economies. We did none of that. So what I'm saying is a hoax is not that there is not something, maybe it's biologically engineered. I'm not saying I know that answer. I'm saying that it's some weird shit happening based on people that are far smarter than me that I immediately went, I know how to go, bro, what's up with this? I don't know. And I'm going to get a whole bunch of people that know a whole lot more about me and put them all in a room together and just learn from them. Mm-hmm. And all of these people are like, no, this is real, but this ain't what they saying it's going to be. Remember they said in Florida after the Super Bowl it was going to be a spike? It wasn't. I went everywhere. The hot spot. I was just in Miami jet skiing last weekend. Like, these are the things that I'm just like, that part is what's the hoax. This does not, two things can be true at once. It can be some weird shit happening that they're too arrogant to say, we don't know. Experts don't never want to acknowledge, I don't know some shit. This is unprecedented. We don't know where it came from. What's happening is people are acting like they know some shit and calling it a thing that it's not. And then scaring people, never letting a good crisis go to waste, scaring people into compliance. Then you literally make contradictory statements. Then you got people walking around like getting in fights because somebody's not wearing a face covering that we all know does not work. That part is where the hoax come in. Fear, man. Fear is a motherfucking powerful tool. Yeah. And if you can keep people afraid, they'll trade their liberty for security. You know, there's no freedom in jail, but it's secure. But it's jail.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's my take on it. And I just had to clarify that. That's not me disrespecting people that, may have had loved ones that passed. But the question that you got to ask yourself is, isn't it more disrespectful if they told you that your family member died of a thing and that's not what they died of, only for their own financial gain? I think that's more disrespectful. You know what I mean?
No, definitely. Once again, we're talking to Maj Toure from Black Guns Matter. Now, Maj, I got a few more questions for you just about the vaccine. You've been no vaccine. Keep that far away from me. For those who may not understand, why are you so against taking the vaccine?
Because I read medical apartheid. And I just choose not to. I don't want it. And cool. If you want it, I'm gonna high five you when you get your goofy ass sticker. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna support you. I'm gonna still hang out with you. I'm gonna be like, yo, you crazy, boy. You put that cocktail in your own shit. You crazy. But I'm not gonna disrespect you. This so-called vaccine, by definition, is not a vaccine. It's not. Do not believe me. Go in your little search engine and type in, is this a vaccine? Why or why not? Don't believe nothing I'm saying. If it's rushed as an emergency, not FDA approved, the actual manufacturers cannot be held liable for it. And you're trying to convince people to take it using pop culture icons. They trying real hard to get the NBA players to take it, and
they're shutting it down. They're shutting it down. They're not going like the current players. Bro, They've got a few legends that have taken it on camera and stuff, but the current players are like, nah, I'm okay.
Hank Aaron took it.
He did.
Knocked him right out the park. Knocked him right out the park. Then some people will say, well, you can't prove that he died from the vaccine. Okay, well, you can't prove that people are dying from COVID. Let's keep the same fucking energy. And Bill Gates is not a fucking doctor.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how he's been kicked out of India. He wants to go to all of these highly melanated places to try to literally vaccine all of these people. And they get the fuck out of here. Right? We don't need your help, bro. That white savior complex shit, y'all have an agenda. Main Man was on stage and literally said, we can prevent the growth, we can population control through vaccines. I'm good. Now, if you, because there's the the magic of modern medicine. I'm not one of those people that's you just eat fruits and vegetables. All right, that's cool. And that's a great place to maintain your, immune system and all of that. Absolutely. Plenty of water, plenty of sunlight, no doubt. However, if I get a toothache, I'm taking some fucking drugs. That's it. I'm not one of those people that's everything about the modern medical movement is horrible. Tylenol is the shit. You know what I'm saying? It is.
Yeah.
So I'm in that I'm not saying all of that shit is horrible. I'm saying these things are dangerous. When I talk to so many moms that their child was okay, then they take these vaccines and now they got autism. I'm not going to ignore that. Now, if you choose to put that in your body with all of the information, I am going to respect you. I am going to go, cool. I'm not going to disrespect you at all. But for me and mine, no thank you. Where it becomes a problem that people should really be asking is, why are they trying so hard to make you have it?
Especially the people like us. Especially those look like us. You get a lot of pandering and a lot of like rap songs and NBA players. Like who's in the NBA? It's the black folks. Who likes rap music? It's the black folks. That's always been strange to me. I
So
never.
You think they now just want to hook you up? Like in all seriousness, like you think it's like, yeah, the black people should have it. Motherfucker, Tuskegee experiments happen. Leave me the fuck alone. Everybody should read Medical Apartheid. If you still land on, yeah, I'm going to take this, cool. If you read a bunch of books and you still land on Democrat, I'm still going to respect you. But if you look at the bevy of information that's out there, and again, this does not mean that every vaccine is bad. I'm going to be clear. I am objective. I'm not saying that certain medical breakthroughs aren't great. You're not going to get me to say that chemotherapy is great. It's not. It's not. It's like radiation. I'm good. I think that people need to look at, we be wanting to do stuff to like kill the flies and leave the garbage. You know, a few days ago, Michael Moore was talking about like the people in Texas, since they removed their mask mandates, maybe we should take our precious vaccine to people that, and that's that forced compliance shit. Again, but he's a liberal. His position is we can force everybody to do something by mass force through the state and giving the state more power. That does not respect individual liberty. My individual liberty says, bro, if you want to take it, if you grow an extra arm, I'm going to love you the same. We're going to get a whole lot more work done because you got an extra arm or some shit. I'm not going to be mad at you. However, please respect me. It's the same thing with guns. Respect me the same way. If you don't want to have a gun, I'm going to respect you. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to say, yo, he's just not into it. That ain't his thing. Please respect me the same way when I'm like, yo, I'm taking a gun with me. You know what I mean? The problem is one side of the equation is going like, cool, that's your choice if you want to do it. Here's the reasons why I don't want to. Then the other side of that equation is going, nah, you got to do it because otherwise you're trying to kill people's grandma. And it's like, what? Get the fuck out of here. That's not what I'm doing. These are experimental cocktails. And so, nah, that's my reason for why I don't bang with them joints.
And so, like you said, Texas is reopened, and it looks like Mississippi is starting to get rid of the mask mandate. And from what I understand, it's going to be up to like 17 states in the next 2 weeks, if I read that right. So there's going to be a bunch more states either getting rid of or severely limiting their mask mandates. Why do you think that's the best decision?
Because I got to be clear. One, I don't see that as necessarily a victory. They shouldn't have been there in the first place. When you think about this, you just told people you have to. The science is clear. Breathing in your own bacteria is bad, right? You just basically told people as you walk around, black people especially, right? We need to be out in the sun, like more than white people. Like, that's not like racist. That's like, yo, we got it. That vitamin D, that melanin thing is a serious thing.
It's facts, yeah.
So you just told a bunch of black people to stay in the house and breathe in their own bacteria, which is not good for health. But
yeah,
you, in essence, forced people to do that as opposed to letting nurses explain the concept to people and make educated decisions. So if I, like Malcolm said, if I stab you and leave the knife in, it's 9 inches, and I pull it out 3 and it's 6 inches, that's not progress. You shouldn't have stabbed me in the first place. It's the same concept. It's like, oh, there's 16, 17 states that are giving you your freedoms back. Fuck you. The state don't determine what my, you know what I'm saying, what my freedoms are. No. And I think more people need to say it from that space. If you educate yourself and inform yourself and say, yo, I choose to mask up for these reasons. I'm going to use a N95 form sealed mask that actually blocks shit out everywhere I go. I can respect that. Flesh-eating disease is a real thing. Necrotizing fasciitis is a real thing. There is a flesh eating disease that exists. Like, motherfuckers don't even know where it come from. Like, it'll just eat your flesh. If you want to protect yourself from that, it's not highlighted, but it happens. If you ever type that word in, flesh-eating disease, you'll see the images. It's disgusting. It exists. But you might be like, I'm masking up and washing my hands because I don't want to get the flesh-eating disease. Cool. But you're making an educated decision based on the information, not because the state is telling you. Black people got to start thinking from a free mentality, not because the government says so. Fuck this government. Like, that's the point. Like, fuck this government. This government ain't helped me, and I'm not waiting on it too, because I'm actually a free person. Fuck this government. Do what's right for you, your community. Do not wait on them to come fix you. But if you one of them people that's like waiting on like a stimulus check, or like, you know, waiting for the government to come clean your community up, or like waiting for the police, I see why you like, you know, you are a slave to them. You know what I'm saying? And they could do whatever they want. Biden said, when I'm in office, those $2,000 checks was out the door day one. You motherfuckers still waiting, and they debating if they gonna give you $1,400.
Yeah, and then the $15 minimum wage, and then black people, I got your back. Now we can do that all day. Like, trust me, I understand. No, that and on the government side, I recently did a video because I watched the Fred Hampton movie, and it was about how, you know, they killed Fred Hampton. I was actually surprised that they put that in the movie, like that was made by Hollywood. And then I went down the list of some of your black leaders that were killed during the COINTELPRO, right? And like what died when they died. Their movements died when they died, in a lot of essence. Right. And so I listed off, was Malcolm, MLK, Fred Hampton, Medgar Evers, Maj Toure, aka Stokely Carmichael, and Eldridge Cleaver had to flee the country. Marcus Garvey had to flee like all these people like either died and their movements died with them, or they had to flee the country because of this government that you're supposed to put all your faith into. So trust me, I definitely get that. And like you said, if you just left waiting, you're gonna be waiting for a long time. It ain't gonna be COVID that's gonna kill you. It's gonna be something else, you know. Like, I definitely understand that for sure.
And it's like, just evaluate these things. Like I know some people listening to me say fuck this government, right? Might feel like scared that I said that. You got to ask yourself, what do I know that gives me the bravery to even say something like that might seem blasphemous to you? What is he doing in his life that he's not afraid of shit? Why? Well, for one, I do not rely on government. For two, I object to the theory that the state is there to help the people. And knowing the framework of this country, right, wrong, or indifferent, the founding fathers of this nation had hella contradictions. Hella. The framework of how it's written, though, was like, yo, they said the same shit, man. Fuck government. That's the whole construct. Limited government. We be forgetting all of that, and then they remove it out of the schools, and then they package it like George Washington and the boys was like, yeah, government. That's not what they was on. They revolted
against their own government. They revolted against England. That was their government. That's how the country.
Yeah. Like, they shot police. Like, that's what happened. The redcoats was the police. So, like, when people can't jive that, is because they don't really understand American history. Malcolm is a patriot. Malcolm was like, nah, we're going to solve our own problems. We're going to work on our own thing. And I think some people get scared because I say shit like that. But I really don't give a fuck. And I'm out in the end of this year. I'm out. If y'all motherfuckers ain't figured it out by then, I'm going to like grow food and shit. Like, I'm good, you know. But like, you really got to ask yourself, have I really done enough study on these things, or am I just getting meal-pieced information from people that say like, oh, they didn't mean that for you? Why? Malcolm is the best example. Malcolm studied the dictionary and the thesaurus to be able to use that language and hold people accountable to the things that they said. So I'm using the same thing. Oh no, we using the Constitution. We using the Bill of Rights. Government does not grant me the right to have a firearm, nor can they take it away. That's literally what the Bill of Rights is for. It's a breakdown of things that you have as a human, as a natural right. Government, this list of things, government cannot grant or take away these things. That is the framework of this place. And if that's not the framework of this place, then you got to tell me something else. And if it is, then fuck you. Like, I'm going by this. This is the supreme law of the land. This ain't my rules. This the shit y'all made up.
Yeah.
Y'all brought some of me and my ancestors here. Some of us were already here. That's number one, right? But this y'all shit. I just happen to be here. You know what I'm saying? So, all right, I'm going by these rules.
And I happen to understand what it's saying. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Study that shit, man. And just, all right, so I used to paint these dudes as like black in my head. I go, oh shit, George Washington was G as shit. Main man on Christmas Eve, him and his homies took a boat across the like frozen river to go kill the ops. That's what happened. He took a boat and like they went across the Delaware River and killed the opposition with his contradictions. So it's like, if he was black and during that time when the government was persecuting him, okay, let's talk about Jesus. He, had a sword and shit, told people like, yo, if you don't got a sword, bro, you need to sell some of that shit you got and get a sword. You know what I'm saying? Main man was persecuted by the government. Like, government does not help. Like, they don't make anything. They take your money by force and coercion. They don't make anything. Even they like, oh, what about the roads? They take the same money that they took from you and contract to private companies to do the job of building a road. Like, nah, man, as less government as possible. And I want black people to really, really look into these concepts. Like, really look into it. Don't just be like, well, that's for them white people. Fuck that. The earth is mine. Fuck you talking about? Like, the whole planet is yours. Think of it from that mentality. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. Once again, we're talking to Maj Toure of Black Guns Matter, and you talked about owning guns and things like that. So, with Black Guns Matter, you guys have some big projects coming up, and you're trying to purchase a building, I think is what you said. Just kind of talk to me about that. What's up next for your organization?
I'm leaving if we don't hit our goal and buy this building outright, and by the end of December. I've put a lot of work in. I've given about the last 5 years of my life to our community. My commitment to my hood, even before Black Guns Matter, has already been solidified. I don't believe that most Americans, I think we lazy. And that's just, I'm a bit, I'm jaded, when I saw this election, and I do think that there was election fraud. I do. I think in my city council run in Philly a year or so ago, I think there was fraud there as well. However, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. There's been failure to prove that. So whatever. I don't think that with the amount of black people that really got behind Joe Biden and really got behind Black Lives Matter, not as a phrase, but as an organization that hasn't done anything for black people. And don't get me wrong, I'm saying an attack of BLM. I'm questioning their money spending, and I'm questioning how it's been beneficial for the community.
Absolutely, as you should. As you should. If they're working for us, they should be very transparent. Trust me, I've had those conversations. Absolutely.
Right. And so every donation that we get, like we raise the money and you can see, okay, he went there, hundreds of classes over the last few years. So we can see like every donation is transparent. Boom. And that's with a small bag. That's not, we didn't raise a whole 400,000. It's like 390 or something like that. But we gave it away. And I said at the beginning, towards the middle of last year, I'm like, look, I'm going to get a building. We're going to buy it outright, and people can come learn for free forever. We'll have a flagship location, and we'll do that. I do not believe, especially after this election, that enough black people understand, like, the Democratic Party is not your fucking friend. The government is not your fucking friend. The Republican Party is not your fucking friend, right? The state in general is not your fucking friend. I think that too many black people are still like content with crumbs. And so I just was like, all right, cool. I'm out. Like, I want to buy some land, learn how to like build a house. Like, you know how dudes be like, these women don't cook. Da, 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 da. Well, can you build a house, motherfucker?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
then I got to ask myself, well, shit, Maj, you don't know how to build a house. You should learn how to build a house. You should be a plumber. You should be a fucking welder. You should be a blacksmith. You should learn how to do all of this stuff at a solid level of, I genuinely don't need government for anything. That's appealing to me. I want to move somewhere warm where there's no fucking mosquitoes. You know what I'm saying? And like grow food, grow weed, make my own ammo, shoot my own guns, do 3D prints and builds, and just be at peace. I want to do that. The only way that I will further put that off to the side is if you have to come up with a challenge. The challenge is I'll give away another $600,000. Our goal initially was $25,000, and people kept saying to do certain amount of cities. People kept saying, no, keep going, keep going, keep going. And it got up to $1 million. And everybody's like, what you gonna do with the other $600,000? I'm gonna buy a building. I'm gonna give that money away too. You are never gonna question my commitment to my hood. That part, my shit, I'm cemented. I've already raised and gave away a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money. And I don't think that people put, and I'm gonna be easy when I say this because we've had a lot of support from regular folks. I don't think that the general public sees the importance. HR 127 is some of the most overreaching, draconian, unconstitutional legislation ever in regards to the Second Amendment. Black people, more specifically, don't understand how they're going to be the target of that gun control. I think what my grandmother used to say is true. Some people won't get it until the whipping comes. And I think that most Americans are soft. They don't really understand the attack that they're under, and they can't see the ground shrinking underneath their feet. What would be a good, if everybody was like, yeah, we're going to just boom, and then we helped them buy a building. I was very clear. I do not think we're going to hit the number. I don't, because I think people are complacent. And they're like, yeah, he's doing some good work. The work that we're doing is in alignment with protecting your individual freedoms. So what's next for me is one or two things. One, somebody wants to like further complicate my life. Because I said, yo, if we hit that number, I'll be in for 3 more years. I'll put off what I want to do for 3 more years. So either somebody's like, ha, here. And then I said I'm going to give the money away to buy a building. So I got to do it. Either somebody goes, some like really rich person goes, bam, here's $600,000 to your GoFundMe. Or a bunch of people, 600 people with $1,000 go here. Right? Or whatever that math translates to, right?
Yeah, I got you.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Either that happens and I'm like, shit, I got to put my thing off for 3 more years. And I'll stick to what I said. Or I'm going to be right. We won't hit the number. And I'm out. I'm going to be off of social media. I'm going to learn how to do man shit. Like, we are suffering from, like, a real you can't do shit problem. Like a real, like, on my RV, the pipes froze in Milwaukee. It was negative 11 degrees. I had to fix it right there. Like, fuck is you talk? Like, it ain't no, the government didn't come to help you with that. They don't have to, and you shouldn't want them to. We have a, like, then you got to ask, like, yo, in your house, on a nominal level, if something breaks, can you fix it? Man that wants this woman to cook for you. What if the gas line goes out? Do you know how to fix that? What if the Texas, we saw some rare shit.
Yeah.
Their grid went out. And okay, it was fucked up for a minute, but can you fix that? How you want these women to be angels for you and you ain't built a heaven for them? So for me, it's like I see my own deficiencies. I could pay for some shit. I'm great at that. That part is solved. I know how to make money. You know what I'm saying? But even that's a light bag. I don't have $10 million. There's houses that cost $10 million. You don't have enough for a $10 million house. So, in being critical of self, I want to go learn that type of shit. So that's the other equation of what's up next for me. What's up next for Black Guns Matter is we got an app. Everybody can download it. All of my friends and connections are in that app, and we'll continue to upgrade that app and make it better and better and better. And you can get all of the information in the app. But I don't think that the people, I think in the beginning it was a novelty, and I think people see the importance of it, but I don't think that they see how severe it is. Like HR 127 is in essence trying to make you a felon. You can go to jail for 10 years in a federal prison if you purchase a firearm under HR 127. If you purchase a firearm and it is not registered, basically, you got to have $800 insurance, $800 to insure your gun. Here's the other part of that. You have to submit to a psychiatric evaluation on a federal level. Again, there's over 120 gun owners in America. So you mean to tell me y'all couldn't get the $2,000 checks out in time, but you're telling me that federal government is going to efficiently give psychiatric evaluations to over 120 million gun owners across the country. And if you have those guns, let's say if they schedule you for your evaluation 2 years down the line, you cannot have those guns on you until you have your evaluation. There's no grandfathering in. So like all of this, I don't think people really see how draconian that is. And I don't know if they cool with being an outlaw. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. Again, Harriet Tubman didn't have a license to carry. I don't give a fuck about none of that. I have a God-given natural birthright to defend my life with arms, firearms included. I don't think that the general public understands that. So it'll either be some people will understand it and they'll get us to that point and I'll have to give away another $500,000-$600,000 for a building, or they won't and I'll be right. I hope I'm wrong, but I'll be right. I think I am right. And I'll just go learn how to like build stuff. And either way, I've already put my time in. So that's the potential 1-2 punch. And we'll see what happens by December 31st.
I got you. So we got until the end of the year, guys. You hear it. End of the year to get the money. So you're looking to get 600,000. Is that the number that you're looking for?
The goal initially was we started with 13 cities at $25,000 on our GoFundMe. We hit that, and then people was like, "Yo, man, you got to do more." And we kept every time we would hit a goal, so many people was like, "Yo, you got to do more." And then somebody was like, "Yo, man, you keep letting people tell you to go, just make it $1 million. That way you can buy a building."
$1 million.
Yeah. So the overall goal is $1 million. We've already raised and given away $390,000 over the last 2-3 years.
So you got 600,000 more to go for you to make that 3-year commitment, because it's just a 3-year commitment. That's it. That's all we getting out of you.
That's it.
That's it. That's it.
And the beauty of it though, in having a location is, I think that's what happens wrong in a lot of movements. Like you just said, the leader of the movement get murdered, and the movement die.
It dies.
So I'm going like, yo, I shouldn't be like the leader of this movement. Like, I understand that it was necessary in the beginning, but we got to be like, we got to have tentacles. You got to be able to get into different, you know what I mean? And people can come learn from instructors. That's why that app is so beautiful. You don't need to hear from me. And I get it. People are like, well, Maj, how you translate, that's a gift, da-da-da-da-da. And that's true. That's true. I'm not knocking that. But at the same time, we got to learn from the mistakes of our past. I want to pick up where Malcolm like left off. I don't want to like go back to where he began. Fuck that Detroit Red shit. I'm trying to start at El Hajj Malik Al-Shabazz. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so this is another way in buying the building. And I said it. I can't lie. I'm committed to it. Buying a building and setting up the class where people can come learn for free, that's forever. That's forever. It can exist whether I'm around or not. You know what I mean? And so anybody in a different city is like, yo, I want to do a class in Philly. Cool, come use my facility. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how we really gain power.
Definitely.
But I'm disheartened and disenchanted. I don't think that the general public, and maybe I'm wrong, I just don't think it. I think that we say a lot of shit on the gram, but we don't really be trying to be about that life in real life. And the best way to showcase that is to put your money where your mouth is. When I said, yo, we gonna spend $50K and paying for people's FFLs, we started doing that. Federal firearms licensing, we started doing that. The best way to really be legit is to back up what you're saying with money in America. We are in this is capitalism.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's my take on it.
Hey, well, Maj, I appreciate you taking some time out of your day. Once again, this is Maj Toure, the owner and founder of Black Guns Matter. We are here to help Maj reach that $600,000 goal to get the building. It'll be in Philly, and you can come learn about getting your gun license and being, the reason why I hope Black Guns Matter, to be able to protect yourself in the need of anything, right? Like that's the ultimate goal. And so I appreciate Maj coming on here. Let's give Maj a digital round of applause. Hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, and let people know the message that Maj preached, because he was on here for an hour and a half and he said a whole lot. So thank you, Maj, again for coming on with me, man. I appreciate it. It was a blessing to have you on here for sure.
I appreciate you, man. Hey, make sure y'all are supporting this channel. Jeff is doing a lot of work, highlighting voices that the general public may not be aware of or just don't get to see often. So when people are putting their energy and time and resources into stuff like this, you have to support, subscribe, send them. I don't know how they send bread or like whatever, but just do it. Whichever way. Support this black man. Support this black man 100%.
I appreciate it, Maj, for sure. Thank you all for tuning in. Once again, this is Jeff Lightsey Jr. with Maj Toure on the Black Boss channel.